All right, welcome into a Fresh Hour Sports Center. I am the coach, Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez. If you missed it, shocker of shockers, it really feels like a Mike Tyson type of night when he lost to Buster Douglas all those years ago. Holly Holm, who they weren't even using as part of the promotion to this fight, absolutely looked tremendous. She dominated. Take us through, for people who are just joining us right now, what happened down in Melbourne, how Holly was able to dominate Ronda Rousey.
Well, the key was, we even seen her at the weigh-ins, we seen her at her open workouts, and we seen her pacing back and forth. She was just bouncing on her feet the whole time. I believe Holly Holm was working her footwork maybe the past few years, preparing for Ronda Rousey, just not letting her get it within grab and reach, and countering at the right time. Ronda Rousey walked right into the punches, but Holly Holm's footwork was the key, and disengaging. Even the one time they went to the floor and Ronda had her back and tried to transition into the armbar, Holly was able to push her off, stand up, disengage, which is the key word in this whole fight. Footwork and disengage and strike when opportunity is right, and that's what she did.
Ronda always talks about how she stays in shape all the time. She doesn't have to cut weight because she's always in shape. She looked very tired at the end of the first round. How much do you think the fact that all of her fights have been so short played into how she looked as we got into the 5 minutes and then part of the second round?
You know, that's a reality. Look, in the gym, you can go for 2 hours, but when you add stress to an environment, you're going to add instant fatigue. And as soon as she started getting clipped, Coach, as soon as her mouth started bleeding, she started realizing, wow, I'm in a real fight here. You could see a bit of an adrenaline dump and an anxiety attack, and she came after her. She showed major heart. She went for it, but when she did that, she got reckless, and Holly just stuck to the game plan. She was leading with a rear, what we call a cross, as opposed to a setup with a jab. That's a lot what Floyd Mayweather does, and this southpaw stance was just stunning Ronda over and over, and that will affect your gas tank. And that's why you were seeing the fatigue.
Hang tight. We've got to go now down to Melbourne, Australia. That is where Ramona Shelburne is standing by. She was there live tonight. Ramona, you've been covering this fight for us the entire week. First of all, in the arena, when Ronda went down and she was out, what was the reaction like there?
I got to tell you, everyone here was just absolutely stunned, but it wasn't just when she went down. It was the whole fight. We kept wondering, why is she getting into a boxing match with a boxer, with a 19-time boxer? And I'd been with her all throughout camp, and I know that they had felt confident in her boxing skills. I know that that was part of the game plan, was to let this fight come to them, was to be patient and engage in that. But she never got Holly Holm on the ground, and it just felt like once she got hit, her mouth started bleeding. I don't think she'd been in a fight like this in a long time, and the whole thing was stunning to watch. It was stunning to watch her go down. You just kept waiting for her to do what Ronda Rousey always does, which is get somebody in an armbar and end it quickly. And it never happened. And before you knew it, it was over. I mean, the crowd here is filtering out, just absolutely stunned.
Whenever you have a fight, you have to plan for both sides of the fence. We did it here at ESPN. What if Ronda Rousey loses? Is anybody saying there right now, immediately after the fight, what might the next step be?
I don't think anyone was planning for Ronda Rousey to lose. I got to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at the betting lines here, if you look at just how dominant Ronda Rousey had been in every other fight that she had ever been in, the relative inexperience that Holly Holm had in the octagon. I mean, she was just 5-0 coming into this. Yes, she was a great boxer, but she'd never been in with somebody who had the judo or jiu-jitsu skills as Ronda Rousey. And she, quite frankly, other people have tried to box Ronda Rousey. Other people have tried to take it to her, and she's been so dominant, you just couldn't even consider another alternative. Plus, I've been around her this whole time, and she's really been on her game. I haven't seen anything different than she's been doing in other fights. She just got into a fight that she was not able to get a hold of. And now, as I'm standing here talking to you guys, they're bringing the ambulance here. I think it looks like they're taking Ronda Rousey to the hospital. I'm going to have to see. Let me walk out and see what's going on here. But they've got an ambulance here getting ready to treat her.
Ramona, I'm going to let you go.
She was knocked out cold.
Go find out what's going on, and then we'll talk to you a little bit later on here on SportsCenter. Okay, Ramona Shelburne live from Melbourne, Australia. So certainly that's disturbing news, to say the least. But we saw the kick, then we saw one big shot. Clearly she was out. How devastating was this knockout, in your opinion, after all the knockouts you guys have seen?
Well, it's hard to say. I've seen plenty of knockouts. It's just difficult to see someone that's so untouchable go down. That's what made it so much of a shock for me. I didn't expect to see that. I expected maybe to see that from Holly, you know. But, you know, the last opponent Ronda fought was Betch Correia. She left her on the floor the same way. This is how the sport goes. It's brutal at times, and it was hard to watch, but that's just how it happens sometimes. And it was a tough knockout. I hope Ronda's going to be okay. I think she's going to be fine.
And Coach, if I could add, just by protocol, if somebody is knocked out in a UFC jurisdiction, which is what it is in Australia, they are automatically taken by ambulance to the hospital to be checked out.
All right, let me ask you this. Whenever you have such a dominant champion like Ronda Rousey has been, and you build now the last year around a dominant champion like her, does this outcome help or hurt the UFC?
Business, it can help business. Look, the rematch is going to be a big deal. I don't think they're going to do it right away. I think, to Gilbert's point, which you made earlier, possibly Miesha Tate gets to step back in the mix. Ronda's going to go off and make a remake of the movie Roadhouse, buys her about 6 months, takes us just to UFC 200, where possibly she could come back in. Business-wise, I think things are fine. But, Coach, no matter how much the media likes to build something up, a person's skills are a person's skills. You put the two matchups together, it doesn't matter what everybody says on camera. It's a physical battle, and Hollywood just simply had the skill set to beat her.
All right, if you're just joining us here on SportsCenter, the coach, Chael Gilbert. A shocking outcome tonight down in Melbourne, Australia. It was Sunday afternoon there. Seemingly the untouchable Ronda Rousey knocked out by Holly Holm. We'll have the highlights just as soon as we can bring them to you. Go ahead, tell me that again. Let's show ahead and show what we can show you right now of what went down. And this was an incredible, almost 70,000 people showed up for this fight, guys.
This was a record-setting event. The next closest UFC, actually Gilbert's teammate Jake Shields fought George St. Pierre. There was 50,000 people, so they surpassed that gate. The women did it. And, Coach, when you take into account that our own President Dana White said just 3 years ago, women will never be in the UFC, and now they've got the biggest live attendance in history. It's really remarkable.
And you see these highlights. Ronda Rousey is over-aggressive with her striking. She does want the takedown really bad, but what she's doing is getting lured in by Holly Holm's straight left hand. Circle, circle, and she slips the left hook of Ronda Rousey, not once but twice. She did an amazing job out there and used that footwork. And again, that straight left, that sit back, straight left, where Ronda Rousey was running in, was the key to breaking down Ronda Rousey.
I'm being told right now that indeed Ronda Rousey is headed for the hospital, so we will not hear from her tonight and get her reaction to what happened for the first time knocked out in a UFC octagon. But as we start to talk now about Holly Holm, who we didn't know anything about before this night, what do we know about her now?
Well, we know she's the new champion. We know she is an amazing fighter, well-rounded fighter. Now, her other two fights in the UFC came down to the decision. So styles make matchups, and that's the beauty of mixed martial arts. The better striker sometimes had good enough defense, and they could beat the better wrestler. It's just this is stylistically how people match up. But Holly Holm, I think, is a new person here, someone that's going to be holding it down. Maybe for a little bit, but I think there's some good competitors that can challenge her as well. I think the title's up for grabs, possibly.
I'll tell you what, in a rematch, look, these two weren't close, Coach. This was not a matter of Ronda got caught. Somebody compare this to a Buster Douglas-Mike Tyson moment. It might have been to you, but to remind you of that fight, Buster caught him with one lucky shot. Look, this was a beating from start to finish.
I was talking about the feeling when he got knocked out.
Oh, absolutely, in terms of the upset. But, I mean, this was not a competitive match. If Ronda's going to come back and get her title back against Holly, she has a huge gap she's got to close.
So how does she do that? Because we're talking about not just a big star in the UFC. She's been a transcendent star across platforms of entertainment. You mentioned movies, TV. She was at WrestleMania last year. So how much do you think maybe that plays in, that she wasn't maybe 100% focused on her UFC training? Is that an issue?
I think that could be a possibility, and especially when you're having someone who's training 24/7 for you. So I think it did play a big role, but I really think it came down to Holly Holm having the better game plan than Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey did not have the better game plan. I think she was over-aggressive, and if she can redo that, yes, she got dominated, but if they can redo that fight, I believe she can be more defensive, working on the block, trying not to strike, and not being over-aggressive, and we could have a different fight. But she just, to me, she fell right in Holly Holm's plan, which I was really surprised that happened.
Chael, I ask you, what does this do for business with the UFC? I'm going to ask you this.
Okay.
What does this do for the business of Ronda Rousey.
Okay, I think she's going to be okay. Listen, it's a dent in the armor. The media built her up into something that just simply wasn't real. She's a good and durable athlete. She's got a great competitive background. She has a wonderful spirit, but her skills are her skills. She doesn't transit. There was people saying she was going to go beat Floyd Mayweather. I mean, there was this level of ridiculousness out here, Coach. At the same time, she's just a human being. She went out. She had a good, hard contest tonight. She goes back to the drawing board. She comes out and has a good, hard contest in the future. It's a reality check. Look, she's a human.
For those people that may be new to the sport, that may be looking at this and seeing all the coverage, whether it's here on ESPN or on the different networks, you guys have been around the sport, been in the UFC. You've won big fights. You've both lost big fights. When you see a loss that is this devastating as a fighter, how do you come back from it?
Well, this one is going to be tough because they were not very competitive. That's a very relevant fact here. A lot of times in boxing or MMA, I did this in my own career, I was able to switch weight classes so you kind of get a fresh coat of paint. Ronda isn't even given that same luxury because there's not enough divisions in the sport. She has no weight class to change to. She's going to need to come out. She's going to need to sit some time and come back in. She may never get matched up with Holly again. Holly may lose to Miesha Tate or Cyborg or somebody else, and it may be a little bit of a revolving door.
And I believe it's difficult sometimes to come back from a fight where you're dominated so badly. You know, if you have a competitive fight, you lose a big fight and you're in there, but this is one of those fights where, you know, Ronda's really going to have to do a lot of soul searching to figure out what's next for her, if she's going to come back and do this or what is next for her.
Gilbert Melendez, Chael Sonnen, if you're wondering why they're not dressed up and looking as good as I look tonight, a little bit later on here on SportsCenter, we're going to have a demonstration over on the mat on exactly what Holly Holm was able to do, and the final kick, the final punch to dominate Ronda Rousey, her first loss in the UFC tonight, if you're just joining us here on SportsCenter. It was a busy Saturday night in sports. We'll get to all that, but right now, full post-fight coverage. We're waiting for a one-on-one interview. Ramona Shelburne will be with Holly Holm. We'll have that for you live here on SportsCenter. As we start to look forward now, and how much attention this fight gets, and now we start to look forward to UFC 194, and you've got McGregor and you've got Aldo. What does this do for the attention on that one coming up in December?
Oh, I'm super excited for December. December 12th is a big day. We got two big title fights. You got Aldo and McGregor, and you got Weidman versus Luke Rockhold. I think this just builds the hype. The UFC has made a very strong end of the year here, and that whole weekend's going to be a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to those fights.
Yeah, there's never been a better time to be a fight fan. You got Anderson Silva coming back. You got George St. Pierre talking about coming back. You got a lot of big things coming. John Jones just got reinstated. Daniel Cormier is an hiatus. Vitor Belfort just won a fight, and now Holly Holm emerges. So it's certainly not going to hurt things. Business moves forward. Christmas isn't ruined for Dana White, Coach. Don't worry about that.
The three of us will be hanging out in Vegas, by the way, which I'm very much looking forward to. Let's go ahead and roll the highlight one more time while we wait on Holly Holm to join us live here on SportsCenter. Ronda Rousey tonight, biggest gate they've ever had, biggest crowd they've ever had. It was Sunday afternoon in Melbourne, Australia. Nearly 70,000 fans. There was no glove tap there.
No glove tap out the gate. You know, Ronda had a chip on her shoulder. Maybe that was it. She came out too aggressive. Could have been a lot more composed. And there it is, the straight left hand. And even when she engaged with Holly Holm was so defensive and able to disengage, keep moving back, circling away. She ate a couple punches of her own, but again, landed that mean straight left hand and even a left elbow, and was able to slip that left hook to Ronda Rousey, which is also demoralizing for a fighter to see something like that. Outstanding performance.
Yeah, and Coach, one of the problems that Ronda has is with her grappling, she's a master on top and once she gets to the clinch, but she can't do it from this range. As a wrestler, we can change elevation and we can begin the tackle. She doesn't have that skill set. She's got to get her hands on her opponent. When you're dealing with a boxer, you leave yourself susceptible to shots, and she took them.
And I agree. I don't think it's that Ronda wanted to stand with Holly Holm. It was just a simple fact she could not take her down.
We have seen, whether it's in boxing or mixed martial arts, some devastating knockouts. And you already alluded to how hard it is to come back when you lose in this fashion. For somebody that, admittedly so, a lot of us have built up, how do you as a fighter go back into the gym when the entire public now is looking at you not as the superhero that you were before?
Well, that's a tough one, and that's for her to decide. But as a fighter, I've had my ups and downs, but it's all comes down to why do you fight? You know, I fight for myself. I fight because it makes me feel good. I love the challenge. Now, does she still have those feelings? Does she still want to challenge herself? Does she still want to redeem herself? Or does she want to do movies? Does she want to explore different avenues? But if she really wants to be a fighter and come back, I think she'll have to put a couple things on hold and she needs to do 100% training and really prepare herself and try to redeem herself. But that is up to her, and she needs to make that decision, and it's all within the fighter.
And, Coach, one thing we always hear when you have a great fighter like Ronda, Anderson did this to us for years, Anderson Silva, I'm going to be done. This is going to be my last one, as a way to get everybody to beg you to stick around. Whenever they get beat, all of a sudden it's, when can I get in there next? Now, Michael Spinks took on Mike Tyson. They were both undefeated. Spinks got knocked out. He walked away from the sport and never came back. I cannot think, and I'm a bit of a historian in fight, I cannot think of anybody else that did that. So I have a feeling that Ronda's going to buckle down and really try to get her focus back, though she did seem to lose it. But look, this is not a good matchup, apparently. This was not a close fight.
We know that she's the master of branding. The three of us here know about branding when it comes to our own personal brand. And she has mastered the interview of not letting us in, letting us know how she actually feels. Do you think she has it in her to be contrite, to be humble, to, whenever she speaks for the first time, say, you know what, I just didn't work hard enough, or I wasn't good enough on this night? Does she have it in her?
I hope that she does. And if I may step in here real quick, the simple answer isn't I didn't work hard enough, I wasn't focused, I didn't feel good, I could too. I wasn't as good as Holly Holm, and it's as simple as that, because she was not.
Yeah, this is not the first time she's lost. Again, she's a bronze medalist in the Olympics. The story will continue, but it's up to her again. But people have bounced back from things like this. She's already bounced back from defeat. Just not in the octagon. She's lost in the judo mat. She's lost numerous times. And that's the kind of stuff that builds a fighter. You know, it's part of the journey and about recovering and coming back and redeeming yourself.
But to the public and the American public or the worldwide public, this is the first time that she lost, because we just didn't see that. And we weren't watching judo in the Olympics, you know, so I think this is a lot different, don't you?
The depth of this division has been criticized many times, and that's been a very fair criticism. It's a brand new division, and they're searching for pulses. They're searching for bodies to begin to fill it and form it. It's only 3 years in, so that criticism is fair. Now, Holly Holm is an exception to the rule. She fought in boxing. She won 17 different championships in boxing, so she does have that competitive background, and that was always been the thing that separated Ronda. It wasn't her skills. It was the fact that she knew how to go out there at an agreed-upon time under agreed circumstances and rules with the lights on and people watching and deal with those stresses. The problem tonight is so did Holly.
If you're just joining us here on SportsCenter, the coach here, Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez, full post-fight coverage. We're all still kind of a little bit of shock here as Ronda Rousey loses for the first time. Such a dominant champion. In Vegas, she was a minus 2,000 favorite, which we've never seen before. So basically, if you bet $2,000, you win $100. If you bet $100 on Holly Holm, you win $1,700. I mean, almost $2,000. Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at what Vegas had them at, I think that also helps in the mind-boggling fashion that we're looking at this and saying, wow, how did this happen? For Dana White, who has crafted this business and this company to where it is now, and he's gone with the ups and the downs, how does he move forward now after what happened tonight?
I think he's got two options now. Look, he's got Holly Holm. Now, she's not going to be an overnight star. It doesn't work that way, but she is going to be able to get another big fight. As for Ronda, look, we just saw Anderson Silva wear these same shoes in his return fight against your teammate Nick Diaz. Did huge numbers. So Ronda needs to take a step back, get a fresh coat of paint, and who knows how she'll do it. The PR move here, I hate this, guys, but the PR move is she sends out a tweet with a fake excuse. My rib was hurt, my shoulder was torn. The media will pick up on it. We'll cover it on SportsCenter. Everybody will spread this through the environment. I hope she is sportsman enough to just say, I lost to a better fighter.
But I will say, though, Ronda did her job for the ladies in mixed martial arts. You know, before, there was no mixed martial arts for women on such a big stage. So she's done a great job of already developing the weight class, developing stars. Now we got Holly Holm, you got Miesha Tate, you got that matchup. We saw the straw weights. They're talking about making 125 pounds for the ladies. So she's already done her job for the ladies in the sport. So she's done a ton of good things already, even on this loss.
I don't think any of us could have imagined, even 5-7 years ago, that you'd have a pay-per-view event in Australia and the co-main would be women and the main would be women. So Al, as we start to move forward, being a big-time fighter is not just about in the ring. She had the persona. She had the attitude. How do you get somebody like her to come out with that? Because now she has to sell pay-per-views going forward.
That's a little bit tough. She does not naturally have that persona and attitude. Now, people have been drawn to her for the exact opposite reasons of Ronda. We had a good guy and we had a bad guy. Ronda was the villain. Holly was the face, if you will, Coach. Holly's going to keep that going. I think she is just a sweet and genuine person. I've never met her, but we live in a small society of fighters, and I know people that say that about her. I think the crowd is going to be drawn to her, but she is not going to be the pay-per-view draw that Rousey was. She's probably not even going to be a main eventer in her next fight. She'll likely be a supporting act.
That is hard to believe after what we saw tonight, but I think at the end of the fight, after she knocked Ronda out, we saw her down on one knee, concerned for Ronda's well-being because she had her completely knocked out. And if we can, let's go ahead and roll the highlights one more time for people who are just joining us here on SportsCenter. And this was such a spectacle by the time these two women got in the ring. There was no glove tap, and it was a complete domination from Holly Holm from start to finish.
Yeah, here we go again, watching Holly with her footwork. Again, that was the key part, her footwork up again. She was even pacing side to side before the bell rang. And then she started getting her timing, landing the punches, and disengaging from the times that Ronda did clinch with her. Ronda actually did go to the mat with her and had her back and tried to transition to the armbar, but Holly Holm stayed really tight and bailed out. Again, I want to give a lot of credit to Holly Holm's camp, which she did in her victory speech. Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, and all those people there at Greg Jackson Academy, they've developed some extremely great MMA talent. She's had them for workout partners for a year. Yeah, she's 5-0 in MMA, but I know she's been training the art of mixed martial arts, not just boxing, for several years.
We hear fighters talk about my camp so much, my guys, my sparring partners, my coaches. What does this say tonight about how important all right, we're going to stop right there. Okay, we need to send it down to Melbourne. Ramona Shelburne is with Holly Holm now.
White.
UFC bantamweight champion. Can you put this into words, what you just accomplished here tonight?
I cannot put it into words, but all I know is inside I'm thinking, okay, there's still a lot to come. You know, I don't feel like I'm finished. There's a lot to come from here. You know, this is one good fight, and there's so much more to prove.
You just beat Ronda Rousey.
I'm going to probably be up all night replaying that in my head, trying to make myself believe it. I have a lot of respect for her, and like I said, I wouldn't be here and have this opportunity if it wasn't for what she has done in the sport, and I 100% do have a lot of respect for her. And you know, there's a lot of female fighters even before her that have paved the way, and all of that has built up to this, and she was definitely one of the biggest, you know, ones to really kind of make a splash. And so I'm very thankful for everybody before me, because I wouldn't have this opportunity.
She was a 14-1 favorite going into this fight. How did you beat her?
I had all the help in the world. Before this fight, I told everybody I came into, I didn't even want to say it too soon. I just knew it. I said, if I lose this fight, it's my own fault. I have all the help in the world. I had all the preparation in the world, the best coaching, the best teammates, and everybody, the family, and number one, my husband every day supporting me, believing in me, and just helping. You know, it's kind of a chaotic schedule when you've got a fight coming up, and I just thought, you know, I have all the support in the world. There's no reason, there's no excuse, there's no reason why I can't go in and do this, and I'm going to do it.
She was talking about this fight as a when I beat Holly, not if I beat Holly. Did you hear some of that?
Yeah, and a lot of people, even when I say, well, if I win, they go, no, when you win. And I say, well, I love that people have that belief in me, but I always say if, just because the work isn't done yet, and I like to wait till I'm in there. I don't ever want to feel like something's done before I do it. I want to get in there and know the time is now.
Do you realize what it means to the sport that you beat Ronda Rousey?
You know, as far as the sport, I hope that it's just does even more for it. And not only that, I hope that this gives everybody some kind of inspiration to believe in themselves and take a chance. A lot of people, you know, this fight came too soon, and then they bumped it even sooner to November. Oh, that's even sooner. She's not ready. And you know what? It is. It's a scary moment. And even though you have all this help before you get in there, it's a lonely place to be inside that octagon. It's all you, because you're fully exposed. And it's a scary thing to do, to just step out there and take that chance. And so I hope that it just, you know, a loss is devastating, but a win is that much more worth it when there's more riding on it. And just, I hope it inspires people just in anything they do to take a leap of faith, put some hard work out.
You've been incredibly emotional tonight since you beat Ronda Rousey. What's coming over you? What's that emotion that you're feeling?
I don't know. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and it's so terrible. The last day of training, I looked at my coach. We were just getting ready to hit mitts. Nothing was even said. Nothing was done. And I said, I'm just so sick of crying. It's like every day. I think about losing, it makes me mad. Or if I do something not well in practice, it makes me mad and I get frustrated and I cry. I think if I perform like I did today, I'm not going to win. And then there's days where I could taste the victory. I could see it happening, and it was so clear that I would get so overwhelmed that I would cry. So it didn't matter if it was good or bad. I was just crying all the time. But it was definitely worth all of that, because here we are.
She went to the hospital just now after you had dropped her with that kick. Did you feel like you really hurt her on that?
When she went down, I wasn't sure if she was going to pop back up. You never know if somebody's, I felt the kick sink in, but you never know if somebody is just, off balance a little bit and they're still with it. And when she kind of rolled over and I went for some hammer fist, she was pretty out of it. And I just wanted to make sure and not let her recover. But I hope that everything is healthy and fine and that she is up and at it soon.
Were you surprised with her game plan tonight? It seemed like she tried to box you, and you obviously are a 19-time boxing world champion.
I think she wanted to throw some punches, and then it wasn't really working, so then she tried to put me on the cage, but we were ready for that. And then she tried a couple hip tosses. She went for an arm bar, so there was a lot of, she actually did go back to her original, go-tos, and we were just ready for it.
I think she got a little ahead of herself in this fight.
She's done well. There's no reason why she shouldn't believe in herself like that. So it's just sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and I just hope that, my plan is just to never lose. But
you come from the boxing world, so you'll understand this analogy. There's a lot of people right now that are saying Holly Holm is the UFC's Buster Douglas.
It is. You know what? I think it's great, and people talk about him to this day. So I'm very honored to be part of that. One of the things that was something so much on my heart and in my passion was that I wanted to be the first person, male or female, to cross over and be a champion in both sports. And it hasn't sunk in yet, but it's here. It's just surreal.
You just got done with this one, so it's too soon to talk about a rematch, but obviously Ronda will want one. Will you give that to her?
Absolutely. Every fighter, every fight I had, I had a devastating knockout, and I came back and won. And I'm glad that I had that rematch, and I think that anybody that does come out with a victory should give the rematch. That's just how the sport goes, and then people are going to really want to see it, and it'll be a totally different fight the second time around, but I'm ready for it.
Holly Holm, new champ.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Ramona Shelbourne. Very interesting interview there. We're going to get into that in a second. Did you know Holly Holm's victory over Ronda Rousey tonight was the biggest betting upset in UFC title fight history? Holm's closing odds came in at plus 800, meaning bet $100 you win 800. Let's bring the guys back in now. Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez. And I want you to say right now what you said during the interview after listening to that whole interview with Holly Holm.
I couldn't believe how cool she was. I have not seen a lot of Holly Holm. She's played just kind of a passive role. She's let Ronda take everything. I mean, first off, what a nice girl. Okay, we've talked about that and addressed that, but really personal. And then saying, yes, I'll give her an immediate rematch. You know how frustrating it is to see somebody finally get that gold, be given an opportunity, Coach, and then they refuse to give it to somebody else. We're already seeing that with these other champions that are going, hey.
If there's a rematch right away, that for somebody who's been fighting her entire life, she made more money tonight than she's ever made. A rematch will make more money than that. It's a smart thing to do.
Absolutely. I think that is a smart decision. When you look at it that way, she was a double winner tonight. We know she got the paycheck and she got the title. And if they do it again, it'll be a bigger paycheck. So that's definitely a great point.
All right, guys, hang tight. We got to take a quick break. Full post-fight coverage here on SportsCenter with Chael Gilbert. I'm the coach. We'll be back right after this.
SportsCenter.
Dog to win. Australia tonight. Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey. Rousey, the biggest underdog to win in UFC history, and it was all Holly Holm, former boxing champion. She tagged Ronda Rousey throughout the first round. Rousey got tired. Then she could not get Holly Holm to the ground. Holm just told us a few minutes ago she was ready for everything, and she proved it throughout the first round. And then it was in the second round that she tagged Rousey with a kick and then a punch and the knockout. Here's Chael and Gilbert.
All right, listen, I am going to play Ronda Rousey. Gilbert is going to be Holly Holm. Gilbert, show us what she did so well.
Okay, the first thing is she kept a comfortable distance. She was dancing around the whole time, and she got Ronda Rousey to become aggressive. As she came in, she landed a straight. Again, she's dancing around. She lured her in. She landed a straight. And then she does it about 3 times, lands a straight. And then finally, she makes her miss. As she turns around here, she throws the kick to the head. Ronda goes down to the mat. She jumps in for 2 more. And that was it.
Coach, that was it. Tell us what we do next.
Well, right now, it is time to find out where Ronda Rousey goes next. Alyssa Ronick with that. Well, first, we'll take a look at the historic upset of what we just saw from the guys. So, well, you look at the strikes landed, you look at the strikes attempted, and it was just all Holly Holm start to finish. This one was a shocker to say the least. Now, let's hear from Alyssa Ronick on Ronda Rousey and where she goes from here.
We love Ronda Rousey for her fight, for her dominance, her unwavering self-confidence, and the way she presents an unfiltered image that is all Ronda all the time.
If an idiot can't understand it, it's not my problem.
Like me or hate me, take me or leave me. She is bold and brash and brutally honest. Self-confident in a way we all wish we could be. She is a contradiction. A badass woman in a brutal sport who bloodies the faces of her opponents and then removes her hand wraps and rules the red carpet as easily as she owns the octagon. She fights against limits, redefining what it means to be fierce and feminine and strong. At a time when women in the larger sports conversation were talked about as victims, Rousey was becoming a symbol of female empowerment and the international face of the ultimate fighter.
Rowdy! Ronda Rousey!
She is meaningful both for her fights and for the things she hasn't had to fight for. Respect, media coverage, attendance records, those she earned simply by being Ronda. Saturday night, for the first time in 13 fights, we saw the untouchable, invincible, rowdy Ronda fail. She will no longer finish her career undefeated, as she boldly promised to do. But as no athlete's legacy is cemented by one win, Rousey's will not be defined by one loss. It will instead be shaped by how she gets up from here and continues to fight.
All right, back here, Coach Chael and Gilbert. And when you hear the music and you see what happened and you hear the words, and this was one of the great, not just champions, but personalities, personas that we've ever seen in UFC, in boxing, in sports, as far as women are concerned. What does this do now in your minds for her career? In the totality of what she does and everything that she does?
In some ways, guys, this is just a beginning. Look, let Dana White get a hold of this thing. Let him put a coat of paint on it, and let's see what happens. He's a promoter, and there's things he can do. I will remind you guys, the biggest star, and I'm taking Brock Lesnar out of the equation, the biggest star sports ever seen is a guy named George St. Pierre, who was knocked out by Matt Serra. They built him back up and said, what is really inside of him? How does a champion come back? It's not about getting knocked down, it's about getting back up. And sure enough, George did, and he went on to break more and more records in this business that he still holds to this day. Let Ronda have that chance. Let Dana White sink his teeth into this one.
We know this sport is all about pay-per-views and pay-per-view buys, and there were a lot of critics who were saying people are getting sick and tired of paying $50 or $60 to see Ronda Rousey win in 14 seconds. So from that angle, isn't what happened tonight a good thing?
I think it is a good thing, but I think everyone got their money's worth. They've been tuning in, they've been paying for the 14 seconds, but now they paid 4 or 5 times. Now they got their money's worth. So I think it's a great thing overall.
I think that when you fought John Jones, and I was honored to be a part of that, you guys came here together and were on my radio show together, and I think John Jones went through this same type of thing where he became so dominant as a young champion that people wanted to pay to see guys like you try and beat him.
Sure.
Did you feel the same way with Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, absolutely it did. And to your point, I know those same people. Gil does too. Where, hey, Ronda's winning so quickly, we're not going to buy this thing anymore. But Coach, I could show you 3-to-1 within my neighborhood of people that were going to buy for that very reason. Look, she's going to stomp somebody, and I want to see it. I want to witness history. Michael Jordan used to sink those 3-pointers, and people started tuning in just to see him do it. I think she had that effect. But in fighting history, there's only been 2 athletes to sell on their own: Oscar De La Hoya and Mike Tyson. Everybody else needed a partner until Ronda came along. She's the first one in our sport. Even John Jones didn't sell by himself.
Ronda Rousey has said in several interviews that she doesn't want to fight that many more years. So in order for the women's division to carry on and to have another star to be able to sell tickets, to sell pay-per-views, you almost needed this to happen tonight. Do you think that Holly Holm can be that person to kind of continue what Ronda Rousey has built so far?
I believe it's a strong possibility to do that, but for her to do that, she needs to win. She needs to defend the title 8-9 times. It doesn't matter your personality at the end of the day if you keep winning and you keep knocking people out and you keep finishing people. You know, the main thing for Ronda, why was she was so popular? Yes, she can talk. Yes, she can do it, but she was an amazing fighter, finishing people in 15, 30 seconds. I mean, that's the main reason. If she didn't have that, then nothing would go with it. And for Holly Holm, it's going to take some more time, but as long as she keeps winning, keeps dominating, I think it's going to keep that division alive. And I'm entertained, and I can't wait to see all the new possible matchups.
When you talk about being a heel, being a bad guy, and Ronda Rousey embraced that, and you said Holly Holm is a great babyface, a great, nice person. Can't the public embrace somebody like her that almost is like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this tonight. I never want to say when I win. I want to say if I win. All the things she said in her interview is exactly what is endearing and what the American public normally likes in their sports stars.
Look, if she's a stock, she skyrockets. But there is no recipe for success. Okay, this isn't like making cookies where you throw your chocolate chips in and you throw your flour and you put it in the oven and they come out tasting delicious. There's no recipe to be a star. You saw how quickly Brock Lesnar did it. We've seen what Conor McGregor's done. Ronda came to the top of the charts. Look, here's the reality on Ronda. She's our biggest star. Why? She's the most likely to end up on Jimmy Kimmel tonight. Is she our most talented fighter? Absolutely not. That is a media creation. She was a regular human being that came in there with good skills and a tremendous heart. She's not our best fighter, and she never was. So, and I don't mean this as an insult. I just mean she's going to run into bumps in the road, and people are going to take some shots at her. And when she woke up this morning, she's talking about, well, this could be my last fight. I guarantee when she wakes up tomorrow morning, she will have a brand new perspective. That's the road for Ronda to climb, but now Holly's on her own journey. She's not going to fill this gap and start doing 1 million pay-per-views on her own, but she is going to do very well. She's going to have a good career.
All right, Chael, Gilbert, hang tight. We've got almost 45 straight minutes here in post-fight coverage. We are waiting for Dana White. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. He was in the ring. He was ringside tonight for the dominating win and upset by Holly Holm, the new bantamweight champion in the women's division. The coach, Chael Gilbert, we're back. A couple minutes here on SportsCenter.
Hello. Not getting enough oomph.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. Coach Chael Gilbert. We'll get more from them in a second, but right now we've got to send it back to Melbourne, Australia. New on SportsCenter, Ramona Shelburne with the president of the UFC, Dana White.
Good to see you.
Hi, I'm here with
Never looked so good.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. Coach Chael Gilbert. We'll get more from them in a second, but right now we've got to send it back to Melbourne, Australia. New on SportsCenter, Ramona Shelburne with the president of the UFC, Dana White.
Good to see you.
Hi, I'm here with Dana White, president of the UFC. What happened here tonight?
Well, Holly did what, Holly was supposed to do. She stayed on the outside. She used her range and distance, head kicks. I mean, all the things we talked about leading to this fight is what Holly did.
What does this mean for your sport?
What do you mean?
That Ronda Rousey goes down.
This is a fight. This is what happens. All the greats eventually go down one day.
it's too soon to obviously start talking about a rematch, but I assume you, the matchmaker, have that in your head already.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's too early at all. I'd say, yeah, I mean, obviously a rematch makes a lot of sense.
How is Ronda right now? She's been taken to the hospital. Obviously, she was knocked out in the fight. Is she doing okay?
Yeah, I mean, she's devastated and she's upset, but she's physically okay.
Ronda all the time talks about how a lot of women say they want to be the champion, but very few actually want that life. Is Holly Holm a fitting champion for the UFC?
Well, Holly Holm's been a champion. I mean, she's had more world boxing titles than any, but now she's the only woman to ever hold a world boxing title and a UFC title. She's used to being a champion. She knows what it's like to be a champion, and well, yeah.
Can she carry the mantle for the UFC like Ronda Rousey has?
I don't know. You know, Ronda is a very special individual in a lot of different ways. But like I said, this isn't new to Holly either.
It seemed in this fight that it turned into a boxing match as opposed. We were all waiting for Ronda to grab her and clinch her. Why didn't that happen?
Ronda did clinch. They got into a clinch once and you know, went to the ground, and Ronda looked like she was going for an armbar there, but didn't get it. Holly pulled out, got up, and it went back to the feet.
Can you just describe what this means for the sport to have 75,000 people here at Etihad Stadium, two females headlining this card in the co-main event? What does that mean for the UFC?
Well, not only that, this event broke just about every record that we have. Yeah, it was a massive event with, I mean, the people that are texting me, you know, from every, you know, walk of life, and it's crazy. It's one of those epic sporting events and one of those big moments where people will be like, remember the night we were out and we saw Ronda Rousey lose?
Well, already people are comparing it to Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. Is that how it fits in your head?
Absolutely, yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Did Ronda just get caught?
Yeah, Ronda got caught a few times.
Dana White, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, Ramona, she got caught a couple of times. Welcome back here to Sports Center, Coach Chael and Gilbert. I'm not a body language expert, but it doesn't seem like to me that Dana White is exactly pleased with how this thing came out. Guys?
Well, I don't think he's the, you know, that's his baby right there. Ronda Rousey's been doing a lot for the sport, I'm sure for the whole UFC, bringing a lot of pay-per-view buys. That got to hurt, and we could see it. We could see the emotion on him out there. But he did give respect to Holly, and that's what's most important. I think Holly can be a star. He recognized that she was a champ in boxing and now a champ in MMA, and you know, and I think he likes Ronda. You know, I think he feels bad for Ronda as well. You know, and I think you develop relationships with everyone you work around. So I think it's a hard thing for everyone to deal with.
That's right, and there is a domino effect here that can be very sad. Ronda is scheduled to play Patrick Swayze's old role in Roadhouse, where she will play a bouncer of a bar in a cult classic movie. Now that there's a chink in that armor, will that continue? I certainly hope so. I don't want her to lose these kinds of things like that, but they are parlayed together. Dana White is close with Ronda. He's been with her for some time. Holly's a little bit newer. I thought he put his best game face on. He was trying to be a promoter. The most telling thing that did come up, guys, is where the question was asked, it's too early to talk about a rematch. And Dana said, no, it's not. Yeah. This is the time. Let's talk about that. Let's get him back in there.
All right, so it looks like that is going to happen in maybe a few months, but it looks like it will happen. He also said that Ronda Rousey physically was okay, but that she was upset, that she was angry. If you're Ronda Rousey right now and you're okay, you're sitting at the hospital, you're kind of just putting everything through your mind, what is the emotion now that we're an hour and a half after that beating?
I actually think that's a great sign, you know. First of all, like Chael said, anybody who gets knocked out goes to the hospital. That is procedure. So I believe she's probably doing pretty well. But the fact that she's angry, she's mad, I mean, sometimes things like this light a fire under someone, and this is what remotivates you. And again, it's when you stumble and fall, these things motivate you, and it makes you want to pick yourself up better. So I think that's actually a great sign. You know, if she was just sad and depressed, you know, that comes with it. But being angry and mad, that's a good fiery emotion, I think, for a fighter to have if they lost the fight, and they want to come back because of that.
Coach, 90% of the times these things, for a champion's mindset like Ronda, these things become springboards and elevate you. 10% of the time they diffuse you and you start to look at some of your other opportunities and think, maybe I should exit stage right here. Ronda, in this case, is in a bit of a tough spot in that this was not a competitive fight. If she calls Dana White right now and says, give me a rematch, I can do it, I want it in 90 days. In 90 days, she cannot close the gap that happened tonight. This was not tit for tat. The only problem I have with the Buster Douglas comparison is Buster caught Mike Tyson in the 10th round. Listen, Ronda got stomped from belt. That's just what happened.
I think that's a great point by you, and I think what I said earlier and what Dana White was talking about, unlike your point, is that the feeling that we all have tonight is the shock of the Mike Tyson happened outside of the country. It happened in the middle of the night. Nobody really saw it. We just heard about it. But this is 2015, and we got to see it, and we got to see it live, and we got to feel what we're all feeling, because I don't think anybody expected that to happen, and I think that's the beauty of sports. Even though it's tough for Ronda Rousey, the fact is that every time you get in the ring, you have to be ready. In your opinion, was Rousey ready for this fight tonight?
Mentally and physically, she was ready. She had time to prepare. I do not believe she's going to come out with a cover story and try to say that she wasn't prepared. She locked herself in the gym, and she really has great coaches and trainers, too. She did everything right. Her weight was on point. Everything was there. Physically, this was a bad matchup for her. She wasn't able to get to where she wanted to be. She took some shots. She started forcing the action. She started rushing in. Very normal reaction. But Holly made her pay for it. She had that big reach.
Or did you guys say it and nobody was listening? Because I don't remember anybody saying, this is a bad matchup. I didn't hear anybody saying that.
We didn't think it was. Look, it was striker versus grappler. Gil, beginning of time, it always favors the grappler.
Absolutely. And, you know, and we talked about if she was going to win, this is how it was going to be done, using your footwork and staying on the outside and being able to disengage. But did we all believe it was going to happen? We thought as soon as she got, there was a moment where Ronda Rousey did take her down, and she did defend on top. She had her back and she went for the armbar. And I thought once they got to the floor, it would be it. So I got to give credit to Holly Holm. I thought once they got to the floor, it would be it. But she was able to get back up and disengage. So we thought if there was someone that was going to give her a hard time, this was the last person in her division that would do it, and it happened.
And if I can remind you, there was a takedown in the fight, and Holly Holm actually scored it on Ronda. Ronda turned her back toward her to try to hip throw her, and Holly lifted her up and took her back. Holly, it was only for a moment, but for that moment, beat her at her own game.
All right, we got a little bit over a minute here, so I'm going to give each of you guys 30 seconds. Kind of take me home on your overall feelings about what happened tonight down in Australia. Go ahead, Gilbert.
Well, it was a great night. It was a great night for sports. I mean, a co-main event with Joanna, defending her title at 115s, and a new champion at 135s for the 135-pound division, Holly Holm. It was a great night for the ladies. It was a great night for mixed martial arts, and we got a new champion. And to me, it makes things a lot more interesting in the division.
Coach, this is what dreams are made of, and this is why we always play the game. It does not matter what the sports reporters say. It does not matter what the odds makers say. It matters who can have more points at the end of 4 quarters. You must go play the game. That's why we don't just mail somebody the trophy. That's what you saw tonight.
All right, I'm going to give you a little bonus time because you guys never hit your times. So we have a little bit longer here. As we start to move forward now, we still have about a month and a half left in 2015. We got one huge pay-per-view left. What does this result tonight do for McGregor, Aldo, Weidman, and Rockhold?
I think the hype is up. I'm hyped up. You know, I'm first a fan. I'm a fighter, but first a fan of the sport. And as a fan, after seeing a fight like this tonight, I'm looking forward to December. And I'm looking forward to Conor, and I'm looking forward to Aldo. That's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to live up to the hype. It got postponed due to injury, and now we're at this point. I think it's going to be a great fight. I can't wait to see it.
Look, Ronda Rousey is the biggest star the UFC has in that she is the most likely to end up in an A-level Hollywood movie. However, she's not. Contrary to whatever they say, she is not the biggest pay-per-view draw that they have. Conor McGregor is, and he's still to come. It's champion versus champion, him versus Aldo. MGM Graham live on December 12th, and you can get it on pay-per-view.
The three of us will be there quickly, because we still have about 20 seconds left.
Who's doing your time, by the way? I noticed you,
Horrible timing on my part. Yes, horrible timing.
All right, let's keep talking. What do you got?
That's okay. As we look towards McGregor, what can we expect quickly?
Well, I think if they stay on their feet, it's McGregor's fight just as much as Aldo's. I think we got a competitive fight when it comes to striking department, but if it goes to the ground, I think Aldo has the advantage.
I don't even know what the question was. I know there's 9 seconds left. Can we please get Gilbert's loafers?
That's true.
That's
true.
He's been trying to hide these from his mother.
A full hour of
He said his
post-fight
mother's
coverage.
watching.
Ronda Rousey loses. Chael Gilbert, thank you. New Hour Sports Center, top of the hour. Thank you.
Oh, look, it's the new Scion I Am. And there's actor Jill.
What she did in her victory speech, Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, and all those people there at Greg Jackson Academy, they've developed some extremely great MMA talent. She's had them for workout partners for a year. Yeah, she's 5-0 in MMA, but I know she's been training the art of mixed martial arts, not just boxing, for several years.
We hear fighters talk about my camp so much, my guys, my sparring partners, my coaches. What does this say tonight about how important a team? All right, we're going to stop right there. Okay, we need to send it down to Melbourne. Ramona Shelburne is with Holly Holm now.
White.
UFC bantamweight champion, can you put this into words, what you just accomplished here tonight?
I cannot put it into words, but all I know is inside I'm thinking, okay, there's still a lot to come. You know, I don't feel like I'm finished. There's a lot to come from here. You know, this is one good fight, and there's so much more to prove.
You just beat Ronda Rousey.
I'm going to probably be up all night replaying that in my head, trying to make myself believe it. I have a lot of respect for her, and like I said, I wouldn't be here and have this opportunity if it wasn't for what she has done in the sport, and I 100% do have a lot of respect for her. And you know, there's a lot of female fighters even before her that have paved the way, and all that has built up to this, and she was definitely one of the biggest, you know, ones to really kind of make a splash. And so I'm very...
And we weren't watching judo in the Olympics, you know, so I think this is a lot different, don't you?
The depth of this division has been criticized many times, and that's been a very fair criticism. It's a brand new division, and they're searching for pulses. They're searching for bodies to begin to fill it and form it. It's only 3 years in, so that criticism is fair. Now, Holly Holm is an exception to the rule. She fought in boxing. She won 17 different championships in boxing, so she does have that competitive background, and that was always been the thing that separated Ronda. It wasn't her skills. It was the fact that she knew how to go out there at an agreed-upon time under agreed-to circumstances and rules with the lights on and people watching and deal with those stresses. The problem tonight is so did Holly.
If you're just joining us here on SportsCenter, the coach here, Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez, full post-fight coverage. We're all still kind of a little bit of shock here as Ronda Rousey loses for the first time. Such a dominant champion. In Vegas, she was a minus 2,000 favorite, which we've never seen before. So basically, if you bet $2,000, you win $100. If you bet $100 on Holly Holm, you win $1,700. I mean, almost $2,000. Yeah. So I mean, when you look at what Vegas had them at, I think that also helps in the mind-boggling fashion that we're looking at this and saying, wow, how did this happen? For Dana White, who has crafted this business and this company to where it is now, and he's gone with the ups and the downs. How
just got into a fight that she was not able to get a hold of, and now as I'm standing here talking to you guys, they're bringing the ambulance here. I think it looks like they're taking Ronda Rousey to the hospital. I'm gonna have to see. Let me walk out and see what's going on here. But they've got an ambulance here, getting ready to treat her.
Ramona, I'm going to let you go.
She was knocked out cold.
Go find out what's going on, and then we'll talk to you a little bit later on here on SportsCenter. Okay, Ramona Shelburne live from Melbourne, Australia. So certainly that's disturbing news to say the least. But we saw the kick, then we saw one big shot. Clearly she was out. How devastating was this knockout, in your opinion, after all the knockouts you guys have seen?
Well, it's hard to say. I've seen plenty of knockouts. It's just difficult to see someone that's so untouchable go down. That's what made it so much of a shock for me. I didn't expect to see that. I expected maybe to see that from Holly, you know. But, you know, the last opponent Ronda fought was Betch Correia. She left her on the floor the same way. This is how the sport goes. It's brutal at times, and it was hard to watch, but that's just how it happens sometimes. And it was a tough knockout. I hope Ronda's going to be okay. I think she's going to be fine.
And Coach, if I could add, just by protocol, if somebody is knocked out in a UFC jurisdiction, which is what it is in Australia, they are automatically taken by ambulance to the hospital to be checked out.
All right, let me ask you this. Whenever you have such a dominant champion like Ronda Rousey,
she's going to buckle down and really try to get her focus back, though she did seem to lose it. But look, this is not a good matchup, apparently. This was not a close fight.
We know that she's the master of branding. The three of us here know about branding when it comes to our own personal brand. And she has mastered the interview of not letting us in, letting us know how she actually feels. Do you think she has it in her to be contrite, to be humble, to, whenever she speaks for the first time, say, you know what, I just didn't work hard enough, or I wasn't good enough on this night? Does she have it in her?
I hope that she does. And if I may step in here real quick, the simple answer isn't I didn't work hard enough, I wasn't focused, I didn't feel good, I could too. I wasn't as good as Holly Holm, and it's as simple as that, because she was not.
Yeah, this is not the first time she's lost. Again, she's a bronze medalist in the Olympics. The story will continue, but it's up to her again. But people have bounced back from things like this. She's already bounced back from defeat. Just not in the octagon. She's lost in the judo mat. She's lost numerous times. And that's the kind of stuff that builds a fighter. You know, it's part of the journey and about recovering and coming back and redeeming yourself.
But to the public and the American public or the worldwide public, this is the first time that she lost, because we just didn't see that. And we weren't watching judo in the Olympics, you know, so I think this is a lot different, don't you?
The depth of this division has been criticized many times, and that's been a very fair criticism. It's a brand new division, and they're searching for pulses. They're searching for bodies to begin to fill it. And
talking about not just a big star in the UFC, she's been a transcendent star across platforms of entertainment. You mentioned movies, TV. She was at WrestleMania last year. So how much do you think maybe that plays in, that she wasn't maybe 100% focused on her UFC training? Is that an issue?
I think that could be a possibility, and especially when you're having someone who's training 24/7 for you. So I think it did play a big role, but I really think it came down to Holly Holm having the better game plan than Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey did not have the better game plan. I think she was over-aggressive, and if she can redo that, yes, she got dominated, but if they can redo that fight, I believe she can be more defensive, working on the block, trying not to strike, and not being over-aggressive, and we could have a different fight. But she just, to me, she fell right in Holly Holm's plan, which I was really surprised that happened.
Chael, I ask you, what does this do for business with the UFC? I'm going to ask you this. What does this do for the business of Ronda Rousey?
Okay, I think she's going to be okay. Listen, it's a dent in the armor. The media built her up into something that just simply wasn't real. She's a good and durable athlete. She's got a great competitive background. She has a wonderful spirit, but her skills are her skills. She doesn't transit. There was people saying she was going to go beat Floyd Mayweather. I mean, there was this level of ridiculousness out here, Coach. At the same time, she's just a human being. She went out. She had a good, hard contest tonight. She goes back to the drawing board. She comes out and has a good, hard contest in the future. It's a reality check. Look, she's a human.
For those people that welcome back here to Sports Center, Coach Chael and Gilbert. I'm not a body language expert, but it doesn't seem like to me that Dana White is exactly pleased with how this thing came out. Guys?
Well, I don't think he's the, you know, that's his baby right there. Ronda Rousey's been doing a lot for the sport, I'm sure, for the whole UFC, bringing a lot of pay-per-view buys. That got to hurt, and we could see it. We could see the emotion on him out there. But he did give respect to Holly, and that's what's most important. I think Holly can be a star. He recognized that she was a champ in boxing and now a champ in MMA, and you know, and I think he likes Ronda. You know, I think he feels bad for Ronda as well. You know, and I think you develop relationships with everyone you work around. So I think it's a hard thing for everyone to deal with.
That's right, and there is a domino effect here that can be very sad. Ronda is scheduled to play Patrick Swayze's old role in Roadhouse, where she will play a bouncer of a bar in a cult classic movie. Now that there's a chink in that armor, will that continue? I certainly hope so. I don't want her to lose these kinds of things like that, but they are parlayed together. Dana White is close with Ronda. He's been with her for some time. Holly's a little bit newer. I thought he put his best game face on. He was trying to be a promoter. The most telling thing that did come up, guys, is where the question was asked, it's too early to talk about a rematch, and Dana said, no, it's not. This is the time. Let's talk about that. Let's get him back in there.
All right, so it looks like that is going to happen in maybe a few months, but it looks like it will happen. He also said
there's a chink in that armor. Will that continue? I certainly hope so. I don't want her to lose these kinds of things like that, but they are parlayed together. Dana White is close with Ronda. He's been with her for some time. Holly's a little bit newer. I thought he put his best game face on. He was trying to be a promoter. The most telling thing that did come up, guys, is where the question was asked, it's too early to talk about a rematch, and Dana said, no, it's not. This is the time. Let's talk about that. Let's get him back in there.
All right, so it looks like that is going to happen in maybe a few months, but it looks like it will happen. He also said that Ronda Rousey physically was okay, but that she was upset, that she was angry. if you're Ronda Rousey right now and you're okay, you're sitting at the hospital, you're kind of just putting everything through your mind, what is the emotion now that we're an hour, hour and a half after that beating?
I actually think that's a great sign, you know. First of all, like Chael said, anybody who gets knocked out goes to the hospital. That is procedure. So I believe she's probably doing pretty well. But the fact that she's angry, she's mad, I mean, sometimes things like this light a fire under someone, and this is what remotivates you. And again, it's when you stumble and fall, these things motivate you, and it makes you want to pick yourself up better. So I think that's actually a great sign. You know, if she was just sad and depressed, you know, that comes with it. But being angry and mad, that's a good fiery emotion, I think, for a fighter to have if they lost the fight, and they want to come back because of that.
Coach, 90% of the times, these things, for a champion's mindset like Ronda, these things become springboards and elevate you. 10% of the look at some of your other opportunities and think, maybe I should exit stage right here. Ronda, in this case, is in a bit of a tough spot in that this was not a competitive fight. If she calls Dana White right now and says, give me a rematch, I can do it, I want it in 90 days. In 90 days, she cannot close the gap that happened tonight. This was not tit for tat. The only problem I have with the Buster Douglas comparison is Buster caught Mike Tyson in the 10th round. Listen, Ronda got stomped from belt. That's just what happened.
I think that's a great point by you, and I think what I said earlier and what Dana White was talking about, unlike your point, is that the feeling that we all have tonight is the shock of the Mike Tyson happened outside of the country. It happened in the middle of the night. Nobody really saw it. We just heard about it. But this is 2015, and we got to see it. And we got to see it live, and we got to feel what we're all feeling, because I don't think anybody expected that to happen. And I think that's the beauty of sports. Even though it's tough for Ronda Rousey, the fact is that every time you get in the ring, you have to be ready. In your opinion, was Rousey ready for this fight tonight?
Mentally and physically, she was ready. She had time to prepare. I do not believe she's going to come out with a cover story and try to say that she wasn't prepared. She locked herself in the gym, and she really has great coaches and trainers, too. She did everything right. Her weight was on point. Everything was there. Physically, this was a bad...
You guys have been around the sport, been in the UFC. You've won big fights. You've both lost big fights. When you see a loss that is this devastating as a fighter, how do you come back from it?
Well, this one is going to be tough because they were not very competitive. That's a very relevant fact here. A lot of times in boxing or MMA, I did this in my own career, I was able to switch weight classes and you kind of get a fresh coat of paint. Ronda isn't even given that same luxury because there's not enough divisions in the sport. She has no weight class to change to. She's going to need to come out. She's going to need to sit some time and come back in. She may never get matched up with Holly again. Holly may lose to Miesha Tate or Cyborg or somebody else, and it may be a little bit of a revolving door.
And I believe it's difficult sometimes to come back from a fight where you're dominated so badly. You know, if you have a competitive fight, you lose a big fight, and you're in there. But this is one of those fights where, you know, Ronda's really going to have to do a lot of soul searching to figure out what's next for her, if she's going to come back and do this, or what is next for her.
Gilbert Melendez, Chael Sonnen, if you're wondering why they're not dressed up and looking as good as I look tonight, a little bit later on here on SportsCenter, we're going to have a demonstration over on the mat on exactly what Holly Holm was able to do, and the final kick, the final punch to dominate Ronda Rousey, her first loss in the UFC tonight, if you're just joining us here on SportsCenter. It was a busy Saturday night in sports. We'll get to all that, but right now, full post-fight coverage. We're waiting for a one-on-one interview. Ramona Shelburne will be with Holly Holm. We'll have that for you live here on SportsCenter. As we start to...
mean for your sport?
What do you mean?
That Ronda Rousey goes down.
This is a fight. This is what happens. All the greats eventually go down one day.
It's too soon to obviously start talking about a rematch, but I assume you, the matchmaker, have that in your head already.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's too early at all. I'd say, yeah, I mean, obviously a rematch makes a lot of sense.
How is Ronda right now? She's been taken to the hospital. Obviously, she was knocked out in the fight. Is she doing okay?
Yeah, I mean, she's devastated and she's upset, but she's physically okay.
Ronda all the time talks about how a lot of women say they want to be the champion, but very few actually want that life. Is Holly Holm a fitting champion for the UFC?
Well, Holly Holm's been a champion. I mean, she's had more world boxing titles than any, but now she's the only woman to ever hold a world boxing title and a UFC title. She's used to being a champion. She knows what it's like to be a champion, and well, yeah.
Can she carry the mantle for the UFC like Ronda Rousey has?
I don't know. Ronda is a very special individual in a lot of different ways. But like I said, this isn't new to Holly either.
It seemed in this fight that it turned into a boxing match as opposed. We were all waiting for Ronda to grab her and clinch her. Why didn't that happen? Ronda did clinch. They got into a clinch once and went to the ground, and Ronda looked like.
Reason why she shouldn't believe in herself like that. So it's just sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and I just hope that. My plan is just to never lose, but... You come from the boxing world, so you'll understand this analogy. There's a lot of people right now that are saying Holly Holm is the UFC's Buster Douglas. It is. You know what? I think it's great, and people talk about him to this day, so I'm very honored to be part of that. One of the things that was something so much on my heart and in my passion was that I wanted to be the first person, male or female, to cross over and be a champion in both sports, and it hasn't sunk in yet, but it's here. It's just surreal. You just got done with this one, so it's too soon to talk about a rematch, but obviously Ronda will want one. Will you give that to her? Absolutely. Every fighter, every fight I had, I had a devastating knockout, and I came back and won. And I'm glad that I had that rematch, and I think that anybody that does come out with a victory should give the rematch. That's just how the sport goes, and then people are going to really want to see it, and it'll be a totally different fight the second time around, but I'm ready for it. Holly Holm, new champ. Thank you.
Hi, it's Ramona Shelbourne. Very interesting interview there. We're going to get into that in a second. Did you know?
Human being, she went out, she had a good hard contest tonight. She goes back to the drawing board. She comes out and has a good hard contest in the future. It's a reality check. Look, she's a human.
For those people that may be new to the sport, that may be looking at this and seeing all the coverage, whether it's here on ESPN or on the different networks, you guys have been around the sport, been in the UFC. You've won big fights. You've both lost big fights. When you see a loss that is this devastating as a fighter, how do you come back from it?
Well, this one is going to be tough because they were not very competitive. That's a very relevant fact here. A lot of times in boxing or MMA, I did this in my own career, I was able to switch weight classes so you kind of get a fresh coat of paint. Ronda isn't even given that same luxury because there's not enough divisions in the sport. She has no weight class to change to. She's going to need to come out. She's going to need to sit some time and come back in. She may never get matched up with Holly again. Holly may lose to Miesha Tate or Cyborg or somebody else, and it may be a little bit of a revolving door.
And I believe it's difficult sometimes to come back from a fight where you're dominated so badly. If you have a competitive fight, you lose a big fight, and you're in there. But this is one of those fights where, Ronda's really going to have to do a lot of soul searching to figure out what's next for her, if she's going to come back and do this, or what is next for her.
Gilbert Melendez, Chael Sonnen, if you're wondering why they're not dressed up and looking as good as I look tonight, a little bit later on here on SportsCenter, we're going to have a demonstration over on the mat on exactly what Holly Holm was able to do, and the final kick, the final punch to dominate Ronda Rousey, her first.
So I'm going to have to see. Let me walk out and see what's going on here. But they've got an ambulance here getting ready to treat her.
Ramona, I'm going to let you go.
She was knocked out cold.
Go find out what's going on, and then we'll talk to you a little bit later on here on SportsCenter. Okay, Ramona Shelbourne live from Melbourne, Australia. So certainly that's disturbing news to say the least. But we saw the kick. Then we saw one big shot. Clearly she was out. How devastating was this knockout, in your opinion, after all the knockouts you guys have seen?
Well, it's hard to say. I've seen plenty of knockouts. It's just difficult to see someone that's so untouchable go down. That's what made it so much of a shock for me. I didn't expect to see that. I expected maybe to see that from Holly, But, the last opponent Ronda fought was Betch Correia. She left her on the floor the same way. This is how the sport goes. It's brutal at times, and it was hard to watch, but that's just how it happens sometimes. And it was a tough knockout. I hope Ronda's going to be okay. I think she's going to be fine.
And Coach, if I could add, just by protocol, if somebody is knocked out in a UFC jurisdiction, which is what it is in Australia, they are automatically taken by ambulance to the hospital to be checked out.
All right, let me ask you this. Whenever you have such a dominant champion like Ronda Rousey has been, and you build now the last year around a dominant champion like her, does this outcome help or hurt the UFC?
Business, it can help business. Look, the rematch is going to be a big deal.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. Coach Chael Gilbert. We'll get more from them in a second, but right now we've got to send it back to Melbourne, Australia. New on SportsCenter, Ramona Shelburne with the president of the UFC, Dana White.
Good to see you.
Hi, I'm here with
Never looked so good.
Welcome back to SportsCenter. Coach Chael Gilbert. We'll get more from them in a second, but right now we've got to send it back to Melbourne, Australia. New on SportsCenter, Ramona Shelburne with the president of the UFC, Dana White.
Good to see you.
Hi, I'm here with Dana White, president of the UFC. What happened here tonight?
Well, Holly did what, Holly was supposed to do. She stayed on the outside. She used her range and distance, head kicks. I mean, all the things we talked about leading to this fight is what Holly did.
What does this mean for your sport?
What do you mean?
That Ronda Rousey goes down.
This is a fight. This is what happens. All the greats eventually go down one day.
It's too soon to obviously start talking about a rematch, but I assume you, the matchmaker, have that in your head already.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's too early at all. I'd say, yeah, I mean, obviously a rematch makes a lot of sense.
How is Ronda right now? She's been taken to the hospital. Obviously, she was knocked out in the fight. Is she doing okay?
Yeah, I mean, she's devastated and she's upset, but she's physically okay.
Ronda all the time talks about